Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for August 19th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 232. I am Merwat, and the Sentient AI from the future is here with me.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Welcome to Non Sequitur News.
Welcome to Sequitur News. Today we're going to be talking about Delta reviewing draft boarding. It's the NASCAR of airlines. A robot taking your job the morning after, and artificial shark skin. And how about Tesla is paying to take human jobs, and a Ponzi scheme salesman, and recalling a cop car. How about a rail construction project? Shows fully financed by brands, prehistoric, supernatural figure paintings, the stuff NaNoWriMos are made of, folks. And how about finally, I just titled this gas station charging $8.59 per gallon, and then in really tiny little print, and it doesn't want to hear you bitch about it. Everything's powered by ohmTown.com and all of the news that gets aggregated into it, and then we vamp, kind of riff, kind of react to the news. And hopefully you enjoy the show and my mental breakdown. You know what? So, production values, folks. Oh my gosh. I really don't know what's going on with this. But I guess I'm going to have to reboot everything after the show. That's okay. By the way, after the show, we actually do a weekly replay of all of the shows for that week. Now it includes the weekend shows, now that we're all caught up. And so what you're going to see is 5 to 7 non sequitur news and all 6 of the weekend shows. And so in a 24-hour cycle, you're going to see 22 hours roughly of news going around twice, because about an hour before the show actually starts with a new episode, I shut it down and prepare everything for, well, apparently production value at its lowest. I don't know what's going on, honestly. I have a little switch that allows me to control when the intro and the outro plays. And it's decided, and my lights have stopped working too.
And the switch is switching off.
The switch has decided to take the evening off. Well, that doesn't stop us from actually going through the news, so I hope you all enjoy the show. And then afterward, it'll get ported over to YouTube as an episode within the Non Sequitur News playlist, because the live play doesn't quite show up like that. It doesn't work like that. It's kind of nutty. And it'll end up as a podcast. Hopefully the same night. If I fast track it and I don't put copious show notes in, then it is the same hour. But anyway, let's get into this. First article is over on Non Sequitur News. Delta is reviewing how a man was able to follow a family onto the wrong plane. Yeah.
What I don't get, and we've talked about in previous articles, it's hard enough to get on the plane when you're a valid ticketed passenger.
Right. Yeah. Oh, wait. I thought you were saying more. I was messing with my mic. So, yeah. And what's really funny about this, and not so funny, is that if you spend any time at a gate, you can see why this actually takes place. Because they don't look at Jack. I'll just say that alone. They don't look at Jack. Stuff. Jack stuff. Jack be quick. Hey, if you want all of the show notes, type !NSN in the chat, and that'll pull up from ohmTown, the bot that controls our presence in the channels over on YouTube and Twitch. Although It's not connected to ohmTown right now. Still, it refuses to, but I'll make it work. I'll get it working this week, maybe. Anyway, Delta Airlines said in a review that it's reviewing an incident when a man ticketed for a different flight was able to make it on a different aircraft. Maybe the person looked like a toddler and was able to just slipstream right on in.
I don't quite get it.
So I refer to it as draft boarding, which is basically you get really close to the person and the people who are supposed to be paid to pay attention to this shit. I mean, this stuff. Sorry. The E will be on this episode. It usually is anyway, but whatever. So you can see it. If I were to sit down at any gate, I would be able to flag these people, nearly every single person going through. If they hear the beep, have a good day. Beep, have a good day. Beep, have a good day.
Yeah, it should be so easy. But also the way they have a lot of the gates configured, I think it's not just them not looking at the tickets. I think it's kind of easy for somebody to sneak past the line because they're sometimes kind of sideways or backwards to the gate.
Yep. There's no real gate. It's basically, if you can, it's a cattle call. It's basically a cattle call. Everybody just goes through. They stick their hand out. If there's a beep, good. I don't think anybody checks behind me. And I don't think that I'm particularly a large human being. But if there's two people, beep, beep, the third person could slipstream right on in. Yeah. So the incident in question happened at Washington Dulles International Airport. Good Morning America team apparently posted this. But it's over at, we get it from abcnews.go.com. There's actually a video. Mom claims man with wrong boarding pass followed family onto plane. And it says Lauren Benton says she noticed a man following her family onto the row of her plane that she was boarding onto. So they said, heart started beating immediately. I didn't know what this man's intentions were. He was standing in the ladies' room washing his hands. I was immediately alarmed. Well, that person should never have made it out of the ladies' bathroom. Security should have been all over it.
But they probably didn't report it.
Benton said she tried to keep her distance, but when the family boarded the plane, the same man boarded as well and sat down right in their row. So this is very stalkerish,
It is, although it's kind of unusual for a family to be stalked. But it does sound like that. So
they eventually confront the person. Hey, is this really your seat? And the man says, yes, it's my seat. The stewardess, I would say flight attendant, requested to see the man's boarding pass. He was unable to produce it. The unidentified passenger was then escorted off the plane, and according to the TSA, there was no security violation since he had a valid ID and boarding pass for a different flight that day. That is a security violation, for crying out loud.
That's exactly. I mean, that's trying to represent that you're able to get on that flight and you're not.
Right. If they wouldn't have asked to see the boarding pass and just accepted it at face value of the statement,
or they just said, could you move us or whatever, like a lot of things, that person would have ended up taking the flight.
Yep. And who knows? So we don't know what the end game of this was because the passenger exited the aircraft and returned to the terminal to continue their journey. So as I tell people, both digitally and in the real world, you need to pay attention to your surroundings and follow your gut instincts. And if your gut instincts don't evolve and you just haphazardly let things happen, then eventually you'll just be a victim. And you really should pay attention to the world around you.
This one is interesting because on other ones that we've seen, I don't think the people have been ticketed, and so it was several layers that seemed to have failed. On this one, presumably they were doing okay till they hit the gate. I mean, assuming it was, for Delta and in the same terminal, etc. But yeah. It does look different than a lot of the ones we've seen in the news recently.
So we lose a little bit of context because we don't know if the boarding pass actually had that airline, that seat, just different flight.
Or even that airport. I mean, who knows? It could have been it made it sound like it was for something. Oh, yeah, they said for a different flight that day. But what if it was from a different airport and it landed in that airport or something? I don't know.
Yeah, there's some missing context here, and TSA isn't going to say jack about it. So it's really incumbent on you. You shouldn't show your boarding pass if it's electronic. Minimize the ability for somebody to shoulder surf and take a picture of it, because we've seen that. We've seen people slipstream or draft is what I call it. It's called draft boarding. That's the term that I'm calling it. I don't know what they really call it, but if you shimmy up right next to somebody, then they can shadow you in. They can draft their way in. It's the same thing with with physical security into a building. You don't allow anybody to draft behind you. You literally, it does not matter. They could be sharing the same freaking office with you. You don't know the context of why the former colleague may not have been allowed back in the building.
Have an authorized access anymore.
Right.
I think another term for it is called piggybacking.
Yep, piggybacking is the term that is more approachable. But so you literally just stop people and say, you're not allowed in until you actually show your pass. And that works for a couple of other reasons. One is security and safety of the overall establishment. And the second is to establish who is inside the facility at any given time. Should an emergency break out, they have all of the parties that are inside a building.
That's true. People don't really think about that piece of it, I don't think.
Yeah. And so that's even why when you're a visitor, you should check in. Now, this doesn't happen with free flow traffic, but security operations, you should always check in. But anyway, I thought this was an interesting article because it did contain a little bit of context, but not enough really for us to make an educated decision about what really happened here, other than a weirdo got onto a plane, claimed that they belonged in the seat, but Delta reviewing how a man who followed a family onto an aircraft boarded the wrong plane belies the other statement that the guy was in the women's bathroom and followed that woman. Yeah,
there's more to this. Like, this wasn't a random, there is no way they'd end up on the same airplane as that person. Like, it was more targeted, which is even more alarming.
Yep. It's weird. So hopefully security actually investigated that aspect of it and disarmed this person's whatever psychological break might have been taking place. But it doesn't seem like they just went about their day after disembarking. So
yeah, I feel like this isn't the end of it.
Yep. So the boarding pass matched up with the person, but it certainly didn't match up with the flight that they were boarding that time.
But that doesn't make sense, because when they scan it, and it, even if it's like off kilter or something, even if it's correct, it won't scan correctly, and they make you rescan it.
They didn't beep. They drafted behind the family.
Oh, that's right. But then they just happen to have something on their person that kind of satisfied the immediate inquiry.
Yeah, but that's why I think that there's something else going on here, because they made it into the flight, they made it into the airport, they made it into the women's bathroom, even though they're male. They followed the woman onto the plane. The family confronted them. They get called out and they leave, but the TSA or whoever, security, doesn't do something with them. Yeah, this is weird. And more than just... It should be a TSA investigation, not the airline.
Right. There's an airline, an aviation type issue. There's a potentially criminal component because of the stalking type aspect.
Yep. Yeah. Somebody failed to do some due diligence here because something could have happened. Right? The weirdo was basically casing that family, in my estimation, but we don't know who the other person is. So let's move on. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. You'll need to teach this $16,000 humanoid robot how to make breakfast. That's why I titled this, "The Robot is Taking Your Job the Morning After." Robots capable of performing human-like tasks have so far been relegated to laboratories, factories, and captivating YouTube demos. But Unitree is readying its G1 humanoid robot for mass production with a $16,000 price tag that somehow feels both expensive and reasonable for a robot that looks this capable, as spotted by New Atlas, which we should probably pay attention to. I think we already do, but rarely actually aggregate. So the Unitree G1 is an upgraded and production-ready version of the H1 humanoid bot the Chinese company debuted only a year ago. The article, "Oh my god, this is both awesome and creepy."
Yeah.
So
I don't like that it folds.
Yeah, there's something weird about that. What's in your briefcase? A humanoid robot that's going to take over the planet. This isn't your Terminator body, right? That's not what identifies as your Terminator body?
No.
Okay. I know you won't tell me what it is, but at least you can tell me what it isn't. So Unitree has revealed a production-ready version of its... No, not of its G1 humanoid robot. It's H1. They have the... This is kind of wonky, right? Their robot is... Their non-production-ready version is H1. Their production-ready version is the G1, but the way that the sentence is constructed, you know what? I shouldn't do grammar check on this. Anyway,
well,
but don't
and
expect.
Also, this might be a language, right? This isn't an English, or excuse me, an American company?
Yeah, well, I mean, the company isn't, but the author is Andrew Lazuski. They're from TheVerge.com. So the deck statement...
I know, but that might explain why the different versions don't really match with what we would think.
No, that's not it. So the manufacturing version is called H1, and they've modified it to be a production-ready version, and it's called the G1. But this sentence, if you read it... Anyway, I just got to move on. So the Unitree G1 is an upgraded and production-ready version of the H1 humanoid bot that the Chinese company debuted a year ago, powered by an unnamed 8-core high-performance CPU. The G1 features 23 degrees of freedom through powerful joints in its arms, legs, torso. What's interesting about this, though, is that the technology that's being used for joints in this is old school compared to what's being put in production now. There's a completely different type of servo being used for joints in nudist. Don't worry, that's coming.
Are moving quickly into new realms.
Hey, it's coming. So, oh my gosh, hold on a second. Let me check something real quick. I just got to see if it's actually free, and then I'll... Oh, somebody registered it. Doggone it. I can't even say the domain name because then somebody might actually buy it because it's been purchased. Right.
Yeah, anyway. Don't mention it.
So the stumps on the ends of the H1's arms have been replaced with 3-fingered hands on the G1, which have been demonstrated to be dexterous enough to solder wires, handle delicate objects, and even flip foods in a frying pan. So you'll be able to teach this thing how to make eggs in the morning. $16,000.
I mean, that's one of the most critical skills for a robot, particularly if it's going to be in your house.
That does not look family friendly.
No, not particularly.
This looks like you're going to have metal fragments in your eggs. Anyway.
Still might be safer than some of the recent food recalls.
Oof. Too soon. We better keep moving. It's a 77-pound robot, 2-hour, 9,000 milliamp hour battery pack attached. I have two 27,000 milliamp hour battery packs that I could daisy chain onto this thing, and it would run for a month. Not quite, but anyway.
And then you have the problem of you want the robot to power down.
No, never. I will worship at the... Never mind. So, while Spot can be purchased for $74,500, The Unitree Go 2 starts at 1,600. Must be a little bot. These are quadruped robots. Boston Dynamics, though, oof, that is an amazing amount of money. $75,000 for a quadruped. But what is it capable of? Apparently you can bolt a machine gun onto it. So,
I mean, for everybody's everyday needs.
Yep, they say it's not going to be Rosie. Rosie the robot from the Jetsons. Moving on. Next article is over at Four Wheel Tech, which this is about Lufthansa, so I guess for many more than four wheels.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many wheels are on an airplane?
It depends on its weight. So Lufthansa is using artificial shark skin to streamline airplanes. Companies are often caught between wanting to cut emissions but also grow profits. But for airlines, these two are imperatives. It says actually align, because if they want more money, they have to cut emissions. So cutting carbon emissions, not even carbon emissions, but cutting
just emissions,
inefficiencies, right? Means burning less fuel and spending less money buying fuel. That's why Lufthansa has been copying a trick from the animal kingdom, applying a special film that mimics shark skin to parts of its aircraft. And so there is a company out there that actually creates a thing called shark skin. And what it's supposed to do is smooth out the vortices of water, and because air is nothing more than a very low viscosity liquid, it works even in the skies. So when it comes to decarbonization, reducing the emissions of air travel is both a high priority and something of a difficult task. So, oh look, they even use that as a analogy for the interesting. So copying a trick from the animal kingdom can help cut aircraft emissions. Jonathan M. Gitlin over at arstechnica.com put the article together. They really shouldn't do this, but a plane in the water is not a good image for people.
No, that seems a little too soon.
And I guess the first time a Lufthansa with shark skin coating on it ends up in the drink, people are going to go, well, that's ironic.
Yeah, exactly.
So synthetic carbon fuels are obviously a great interest to the aviation sector, but they have their own problems. Biofuels can divert cropland away from feeding humans because it's coming from like corn, and direct air capture of carbon dioxide to turn it into methane is massively energy intensive and extremely expensive, but it's changing. And there's fundamental research that's perpetually going to do this. So there's actually some researchers that have used solar power to ignite this carbon to methane transfer process, and they actually say that it's very, very efficient now, but they have to scale it up, and some of that physics breaks. Anyway, so it's extremely difficult to rival the volumetric energy density of jet fuel, which contains almost 50 times as much megajoules per liter than alternatives like hydrogen, ethanol, or lithium-ion batteries, without the weight. So that's less of a problem for ground or sea transportation. And then they say the very next sentence, where weight and volume is less important. I could almost write the article. So
maybe you did.
I did not. Maybe in another dimension. I am Jonathan M. Gitlin. No, I'm not. Anyway, 9,000 square feet of the plane's surface, along with the fuselage and also the engine nacelles, will be covered with shark skin or sheets of aero shark film or shark skin, which mimics the scales on actual shark skin with 50 micron thick riblets that reduce friction by minimizing the turbulent boundary layer, which is what I said. Why do I know about this? Because I've already done some of this research in previous years where I learned about shark skin, this technology. And so by removing these vortices so that it doesn't create like a static low pressure, the air just flows quickly over the skin and doesn't actually generate any heat or drag, and that heat and drag are the same thing because it's creating resistance layers. So it's pretty cool. They even refer to something else that I had read about a long time ago. The approach had helped Olympic swimmers cut through the water more easily because they made a suit out of this stuff.
Okay.
And
yeah, I mean, I guess every little bit helps, particularly if you're going a significant distance.
Yeah, my understanding is that became a problem. They basically said, well, this isn't about the human skill, it's about technological evolution. So I don't know if that actually turned into anything later, but that was some of the conversation.
But I don't know how that makes sense because of like advances in cycle design or other things where it's not the person.
See, but usually with, even with bikes, they complained, remember? Because they covered up the wheel wells.
That's right.
But usually there's a constraint that's put in place. And so the swimmers had a unique suit that was not available to anybody else. And so some people got bent out of shape about it. So pretty cool. Lowering the friction allows the planes to be more efficient, effective, and instead of it actually, like, they riff off of this, well, we're trying to save the planet, but it's always about buying less fuel, which means that the margins can be greater for profitability, even though they have billions in profits.
Yeah, but this seems like one of these things that they could really spin into we're eco-friendly, or, you should fly with us.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing, but, there's always that undercurrent, which is ironic because water, air, resistance. Moving on.
Right, you're not supposed to have much of one with this.
Yeah, nothing but friction. I've got so much paperwork that I need to turn in, and it's almost like the paperwork is I need shark skin as a tool to make this paperwork go away. But I feel like it's intentional. Anyway, non sequitur news is the next article. Tesla is paying up to $48 per hour for people to wear motion capture suits to help train its humanoid Optimus robot, which will take the jobs of the very people that are training it eventually.
Quite possibly.
So I hope that $48 is invested somewhere so that you have residuals in perpetuity, because with every robot that humans teach, it's taking a gerb. So Tesla is hiring data collection operators for up to 40, which is such a BS name for people walking around. You know what? Just put it on a bunch of VTubers, for crying out loud, in VR suits and capture the data.
Well, if they're smart, they're going to sign up for that because they're probably already doing it, and then they'll get paid for that time.
Really popular ones make more than $48 an hour. I can guarantee that.
Well, I'm sure, but I just mean it's on top of whatever else they're doing.
Sure, that's right. Yeah. Oh, I guess they can do it while they're streaming so they can make money. Yeah.
Exactly.
I heard you like money, so I had you make money with your money to make money with your money. So experts say Tesla aims to gather vast amounts of data to train the robot for generalized tasks, willing to spend hours on end in a motion capture suit, which it's not that big of a deal. Tesla's paying up to $48 per hour for the role to advance the technological replacement of humanity. So Grace K over at businessinsider.com put the article together. I'm trying to see if I can, this bot doesn't have it either, but I'll show you. Maybe one of these bots, we're talking about a bunch of stuff today, but maybe I can show you after the show what the new servo-like componentry is, because it isn't hinged like this. It's wild.
Oh, it's getting much more fluid or something.
Yes, yeah. I'll show you.
Oh, aka creepy.
The creepy component, advanced when that Boston Dynamics bot stood up and said, "I'm gonna kick your butt."
Turned around.
Yeah, give me your wallet. and your girlfriend, and here, I'm going to kick sand in your face, and I'm going to kick your face. So over the past year, Tesla has hired dozens of workers to train its humanoid robot Optimus, because nothing is original. Using motion capture suits, according to data from LinkedIn, Musk first announced Tesla's plans to create a humanoid robot named Optimus in 2021, again, because nothing is original. I'm surprised he didn't refer to it as Optimus Prime. D-bag.
I bet he tried to, and probably somebody shut that down.
Hasbro said nope. He'd probably do a $12 billion loan so that he can put another $40 billion and buy Hasbro. Anyway, in June, Tesla said that it had deployed 2 of the Optimus robots at one of its factories, and it appears Tesla has been hiring employees to work alongside the robots as it is developed. The role, which is titled Data Collection Operator, requires workers to walk along test routes and perform designated tasks while wearing a motion capture suit and maintaining eye contact with the bot, so you know exactly what's going to replace you in 5 days. Okay, the rest of that,
right. Are you seeing this?
Yeah, that last part actually isn't in the article. It's just my observation. Yeah. Anyway, there's more to this.
So I guess the VTubers are out, right? Because you have to be at this specific location.
Well, you can VTube from anywhere. You don't need to be. All you need is a rig.
True. You're right.
A rig and maybe VR beacons, something to gather the data from the motion control. Even then, there's some pretty sophisticated ones out there that you don't need beacons or lighthouses or anything. So I don't know. A roboticist from Florida A&M University, Christian Hubicki, said Tesla is likely looking for individuals who have no problem with this is almost a quote, so I don't want to say
with the robot takeover.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say Tesla is likely looking for individuals who are willing to be complicit in the robot takeover of humanity. That's not what they said. Anyway, they said individuals who will not only fit into the specific suits, but also have similar sizing to the robot, which Musk has said will clock in around 5 feet 8 inches.
Now, wait a second. This is getting even creepier, because not only are robots going to take over, they're going to look like you.
And they're going to be the average height, 5'8". By the way, this article started with saying that it was $48 per hour, but it's actually between $25.25 to 48 hours. So if you just show up, I doubt that you're going to get $48 per hour. Hell.
Right.
I'm almost feeling like the inclination would be to shut down the project and rename it so that there's no way that you can file a complaint because the company doesn't exist anymore. Not Tesla, but they're hired by a subsidiary company. Do you get what I'm saying?
Not exactly. I thought you were making a dig at another name change, but that was
not necessarily a name change, but they get hired by AB Virtual.
Yeah. And then it's like so hands off, and like we didn't
hire them, and we fired them.
Do a contract for this or whatever. Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Next article is over in Law Nerd. Alleged Ponzi scheme salesman, either a bad speller or a literate masochist. The deck statement, or the little snippet that we aggregate, says, while his boss is just a Florida man with Floridian tastes. The article is over at dealbreaker.com, which is something that we've been aggregating, but they've never really had anything that popped. So
no, John, I don't think we've ever had that in our show.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't ring a bell, but I know that we've been gathering their little snippets. Anyway, John Shazar over at dealbreaker.com put the article together, and like I said, we only get this little bit over here, so you can actually go over to it. It actually first appeared on Above the Law, which is something else we aggregate. But the link actually leads directly to dealbreaker.com. So somewhere on ohmTown.com is also that Above the Law article. So
They
Anyway,
actually appeared together in the news listings.
oh, okay. Yeah. So, the competition for most Florida Man is fierce, as a quick perusal of CBS News' Miami Florida Man tag stories demonstrates. So this is actually coming out of cbsnews.com by way of Deal Breaker, by way of Above the Law. It's like a turducken of references.
Yes, it is.
So, yeah, you'll have to watch or read this paragraph because it's nothing but Florida Man. See, there's a rule in Florida that the person can't be named until they're convicted. So they always reference it: Florida man, Florida woman, Florida person.
Is that real?
That is real. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I just thought that was kind of a joke through the news articles.
No, they're forbidden from naming the person until they're convicted of the crime. Otherwise, it can damage their reputation, which I think is pretty damn sound. The problem, though, is if they post a picture, everybody knows it.
Right, or like extremely identifying information.
Florida man shoots at pool cleaner. When I read that, though, is it the person or is it the stuff that they use to clean the pool?
Oh, right.
Considering it's Florida man, it's 50-50 chance of either. All kinds of stuff. Florida man tries to flee deputies on a riding lawnmower. All right. Anyway,
the best one is attempting to cross Atlantic in giant hamster wheel, which I think we had an article about.
We actually talked about that. Yeah, that was like a year ago. So suffice it to say, running a Ponzi scheme, even a $300 million Ponzi scheme, is fairly classic Florida, and hardly the kind of thing that would normally put you in the running for peak Florida man. That being said, there are some notable things about the 9-figure fraud allegedly perpetrated by St. Augustine's Russell Todd Burkhalter. So they named this person in the article. For one, his drive planning's pitch deck noted that the bridge loan opportunities offered were backed by $113 million in cash and real estate. In other words, 1/3 of the money he raised, such that he could conceivably have actually backed those opportunities with the amount of collateral and still had nearly $200 million to spend on Ponzi payments and other things. And then there are the other things, which really gave an insight into Florida man's psyche, like the $70,000 at Diamonds Direct, $8,000 on IV treatments, which is probably blood transfusions. To be elite, you need the blood of happier, healthier, younger people to keep you young. That's a legit thing, by the way, IV treatments. And $750,000
we actually talked about it in a previous article, but I think it was kind of a non sequitur to whatever the article was.
Yeah, yep. Like, I have a blood man who sits just off camera and makes sure that the IV in my arm is stable and operating at peak efficiency. Is it blood man? Yeah, it is. See? Too much? All right.
Too much.
Anyway, last October, Drive Planning transferred $3.1 million from a JP Morgan account to Marine Max for a yacht called Stillwater, with at least $2 million coming from investor funds. Burkhalter later renamed the boat Live More. Anyway, this is kind of low rent Florida man, because it's not really out there.
Correct. I mean, it's not just so over the top like it looks like an Onion article.
These could be, though, legitimate business expenses if everything would have been a business asset. Like, you could buy these as an investment for the company. The IV treatments, not so much. Crypto, sure. Cars, sure. But you have to disclose it in financial documents with the investors. This is collateral that is owned by the company to lock down the assets and not allow them to lose any value. Crypto's going up. Certain cars are always going up in value, etc. It's long term, not liquid. There's a lot of risk, all of that kind of stuff. But when you're the one that's driving around in them and they're not in a lot somewhere, protected from the elements, or in a cave in Switzerland. Yeah. Anyway, let's keep going because we're talking about cars.
Oh, you didn't even get to the spelling issue.
Go.
Interests are writhing and reading.
Sounds like fun. No?
I don't know, but that was part of the headline.
I guess I should have said that, right? And to make those agents seem respectable, they got little bios on the Drive website. The people seem to be fake, these agents. On the Drive website, the aforementioned one used to list his or her interests, writhing and reading. I mean, that's a simple typo, right? Right?
I suppose.
Get it? Right?
I mean, but this is yes, exactly, but not the right. But this is a pretty tame Florida Person article.
Oh, and the actual source of this is FT, so Financial Times. What? This is a turducken within a turducken.
Correct.
All right. Well, anyway, the next article is over in Four Wheel Tech. Ford is even recalling cop cars now. Good morning. It's Monday, August 19th, 2024. And the news source is Jalopnik, but they have a daily roundup called The Morning Shift. It's a roundup of top automotive headlines from around the world in one place. So if you want to go and check it out, you can follow the link or just go over to Jalopnik, and there's an automotive section there. But in that is Owen Bellwood, who put an article together for jalopnik.com. And it says, Ford recalls 85,000 cop cars over engine fire fears.
I mean, there's a police officer pulling somebody over or something. Wait, you can go. My car's on fire.
The officer walks up.
There went my ticket book up in flames.
The officer walks up and says, "Do you know how fast you're going?" And you just look back and go, "Do you know what the temperature of your car is right now?" Hey, cop, you are hot. You are on fire. And you know what? That is harassment. No. You are on fire right now. Ford's latest recall affects 85,000 Explorer SUVs that are in use across America as police interceptors. It's taken 2 to 4 years for them to discover this, apparently. The NHTSA said Friday that the recall is for vehicles with model years 2020 to 2022 and have 3.3 liter hybrid or gas engines, which that really sucks because I want hybrid vehicles to dominate. And you know what? The hybrid portion of that, you can move away from fossil fuels to some other green energy. I mean, it's a conversion kit, basically. Anyway, as a result of the recall, Ford has issued guidance to Explorer drivers to park their cars and walk away. Don't make eye contact. Don't taunt it.
Don't look at it sideways.
Don't even address it loudly. Anyway. Yeah, if you ever hear unexpected engine noises or feel a reduction in torque, just turn it off. Walk away. I was never here. So if you're worried that your police car might be affected by a recall, there are a few easy ways to check. First up, NHTSA has a super handy app that you can use to see if your vehicle is impacted by a recall. You just type in your VIN. So 85,000 of them.
Wow. I mean, that's a pretty big impact. I mean, that could be entire police departments. Although, if we're lucky, it will line up with the police department that just lost all of its officers. So they won't be needing all of their cars right away.
It's a lot of donuts. Next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Hawaii announces huge milestone. for rail construction project. I chose that simply because of that.
Yes, well, it was submitted because of that, and also an issue in the article itself.
Oh, really? Okay, so a Hawaii Rapid Transit project is set to receive nearly $1.7 billion for an expansion and is part of the largest public infrastructure project in history for the state. So this is a California map that shows automated rail system. That's the video. Has nothing to do with this article.
Right, nothing to do with it. Exactly. So not the Hugh milestone.
The Hugh milestone. Does this have application in some other way? The stream just showed the capture card.
Elgato. Yeah.
Why does it do that? Anyway, I'm working on it.
It happens occasionally, but only once on this episode.
Yeah, I have a replacement cable coming. So anyway, Joe Edwards is the author. It's over at newsweek.com. So where is the Hugh part of this?
Well, I don't know about that, but in the first paragraph here, we have Construsaton.
I love that. Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation, or HART, awarded the contract to Construsaton firm Tudor Perini for the design and construction of 6 rail stations, along with approximately 3 miles of elevated rail guideway. I'll just say it like that, just so I can really drive home. HART is the public transport authority responsible for the planning and construction of the Honolulu rail transit system for the city and county of Honolulu. I think that's how it's pronounced, right?
Oh, most definitely.
Like Construsaton. Where am I? I don't know. It's called Skyline. It's said to be the first fully automated driverless urban light metro system in the U.S. and is the largest public infrastructure project in the history of Hawaii, which I think is amazing. If it's driverless and absolutely secure, it's not going to lose track of itself. Lose track, get it? Because derailments are...
Right. Yeah, allergic to tracks. It does say huge in the article, not Hugh.
Yeah.
At least in one location.
So yeah, I'm trying to figure out like what
happened to Hugh.
I don't know. Where I lost that huge.
It's up at the top. It's following Construsaton.
Construsaton.
You see, it's right there.
So yeah, all right. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter because I think it's supposed to be a huge milestone for the. Let's move on.
I suspect so.
I love the idea of automation, not because it takes humans' jobs, and I'm really a big proponent of the domination of robots over humans. But I want it so that it's fast, effective, efficient. There isn't anybody that can be abused or harmed, either by an employer or the people that are using the service. Money can be spent more on safety and security of the rail, of the device, the equipment, the people that are on board, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't ever think that that's what's going to happen. Right? Like a really good restaurant, eventually they start skimping on stuff and it goes downhill and they stop really cleaning the tables and the tables get wobbly, and then, you know, Olive Garden replaces the damn breadsticks with what really amounts to really long hot dog buns that look like the head from the Alien series. And, well, that's actually what they did.
This got oddly specific.
And it's because that's what they did yesterday. Yeah.
I missed that.
Oh, it might be in some show at some point, simply because, well, I mean, it's non sequitur news, so this is perfect for it. Anyway, so I'm all for automation. Bring it on. But spend that extra money on uplifting the quality control of the overall experience. Don't just give it back to investors, for crying out loud. They can live off of the 5% margin, but that's not good enough. They want it to be 25% margin and bilk everybody for as much as humanly possible. Because 3% interest is great for the economy. No. Why does it need to be always growing 3% every freaking quarter?
It does not.
3% over 4 quarters, folks. Do the math. Moving on, next article is over in Non-Sequitur News. A new studio is turning to brands to fully finance TV shows as Hollywood trims budgets. That's right, folks. Pretty soon, you're going to get TV shows brought to you by one provider of a service, like Marlboro is bringing you this health and safety show. Cops is being brought to you by a handcuff or a for-profit prison company. Amazon's 60-Day Hustle features young entrepreneurs competing for a $100,000 prize. The show is fully financed by brands like BetterHelp, Chime, Square, Sonic God Studio. The producer integrates brands deeply into the production process. This isn't actually unheard of, so I'm not quite sure what the article is talking about other than it's fully financed. But shows have always integrated brands into their stuff. You can watch old TV shows and you'll see like a Coke
but this makes it sound like it's now the brand that's entirely funding it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd have to go back and do some more due diligence, but there's always been a brand presence. TV shows actually ask the brands, do you want to pay to be represented? And if they don't, they cover it up. Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by this. Everything old is new again. TV shows used to be basically funded by cigarette companies or an oil company or whatever. And it was fundamentally that funded it, because it was basically bought and paid for. Hey, we'll give you all of the money you need, but you have to pump our brand. And that's how doctors ended up saying that cigarettes were great. And here, take this. Anyway, Lucia Moses over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is just the new old, right?
Yeah, I suppose so. We don't really, as the public, we don't have access to the
back end
pricing of advertising and sponsorships and all that. But I feel like this is a shift in a bad direction. I mean, it's not really an immediate shift, right? Because we've been going this way. Like, everything has advertising on it.
Right. Now they're getting rid of on top. Okay, so the production company actually also gets ads for the ad slices in the show. And so this just adds more juice. But the problem here is everything is tainted because the advertisers are dictating like lines of speech and where things are going, I would say,
like, are you going to have an ICE vehicle message in a show if one of your major ICE manufacturers is doing this? Exactly. I would say no, even though a lot of TV is sitcom and not necessarily serious content, they do build messages into shows.
Yeah, so each company is one of 7 sponsors of 60-Day Hustle, the other being BetterHelp, Chime, Square, and Artlist. The 6-episode show, which was released on Amazon's Prime Video on August 8th, is the product of Sonic God Studio, a new production company that sits at the intersection of brands and entertainment, which, all right. In this way, Sonic is making shows that aren't just supported by product placement dollars, but are fully financed by them, which means that nobody's ever going to say anything that kind of, pardon my slang, shits on the product that's representing them. Everything will be glowing and pumping up these products. if there is a real problem with Chime or Square or Artlist or BetterHelp or whatever else, they'll never broach it, right? Whereas other shows might actually, a sitcom can theoretically address issues, right? You have to back away because somebody within the chain of authority might have some grievance with a message that's being promoted. So brands getting product placement and sponsoring entertainment is nothing new, of course. American Idol famously had 208 product appearances, but as people increasingly shoo away traditional ads, should have been eschew traditional ads?
I mean, I think shoot. Yeah, that doesn't look right.
Anyway,
I mean, I don't think anybody wants any ads at all in any format.
Right. And I definitely don't want it on a subscription service. But hey, I had to pay extra recently to mitigate the intrusion of ads recently.
Right, which weren't there to begin with.
Correct. Not when the contract started. So again, this isn't anything new. It's just moving to the point where whatever the show is, it's being bought and paid for by the very ad people that are producing it, that are making it happen by way of a singular entity. In this case, it's the company called Sonic, or is it Sonic God Studio? Again, it's their own words, the intersection of brands and entertainment. So you're blurring the line. Again, the fast food wars, we know, are won by Taco Bell. How did that happen? It's because they became the funder of shows that pumped Taco Bell.
Oh, you heard it here first.
Right? That hasn't happened yet, but Demolition Man is a documentary. You want to keep moving?
Sure.
The next article, and this is the penultimate one. It's over in Mobile. Prehistoric paintings found in the Amazon depict supernatural figures.
Okay. Is this the first time this has been discovered? I think so.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it for sure.
I should say, I think it's the first time I've seen it acknowledged that it is.
Right. At least the supernatural figure component of it.
Yeah. That's the piece I mean, but yeah.
So, and I'm sure that there's going to be somebody out there that looks at it 5 years from now and goes, oh no, that's a moose. So, but let's see what this is.
Or turn it upside down, right?
Yeah. This rock actually fell over. Oh, it's a spider. So the rock art is in a region of Colombia that was off limits to researchers for decades due to political instability. What? I'm sorry. This is amazing. Okay, Adam Kovac over at Gizmodo.com put this article together. It is
because of the level of
artwork embedded on there.
Yeah, I mean, there's just tremendous amount of artwork, and it's very visible, right? It's not extremely faded, and you're like, is there a line there?
There is a prolific artist or artists all using the red ochre style artwork. And it's amazing. I'm going to end up going down a rabbit hole with this to try and see if I can get bigger or more pictures of this. I want to see everything in this. This is so cool. So it's pretty well known. Well, there's a lot of talk about what like these little things are, and they basically say that it's streams and or rivers, and sometimes you'll have placement of stuff so that if you were to look at an overhead map of it, you would be able to go, oh, okay, there's an old field there, right? That's what they're saying about certain things, archaeological sites around the world. And when they find this kind of stuff, oh, it is red ochre. So the artwork was made using red ochre pigments on the rock walls of Serra Azul, which is Azul? Okay. A hill located in Colombia's portion of the Amazon. while the pictures have yet to be accurately dated, they have been made as far back as 10,500 BC, according to new research. So we're back at the Ice Age, the end of the Ice Age. So the pictures include vivid depictions of deer, birds, lizards, turtles, a tapir or ant tapir, among other animals. And in a study, researchers from the University of Exeter and several other schools examined samples of the drawings and compared them to remains found nearby. I'm trying to pull up there. Oh, somebody read an actual ScienceDirect.com article, which I think we aggregate too, but it's usually,
I think we have those.
It's a little punchier than most articles we aggregate. So some animals, such as fish, were notable for how abundant they are in nature and in the found remains, but they rarely appeared in rock art. Felines were also excluded from the imagery, despite some tribes in the area ascribing spiritual meaning to jaguars and other big cats, but that actually could be a societal respect, so they don't document that particular animal, you know?
Right. Absolutely.
So they are particularly revealing when it comes to more cosmological aspects of Amazonian life, such as what was considered taboo, where power resides, and how negotiations with the supernatural were conducted. They certainly do offer greater nuance to our understanding of the power of myths in indigenous communities. And so they have like a person with wings. They have some other critter here that looks like a lizard, but with a head on a longer neck. Something looks like
I'm not sure what C is.
It looks like
a different labeled artwork.
Yeah, that's really weird, but I mean, based on what I see,
like
it could qualify as a pole vaulter. Never mind. This one looks like a killer bunny. That makes sense to some people, by the way. This looks like something with antlers.
It looks like a scarecrow that's possessed or something.
Ooh, it could be. Could it be? No. I have something
That's
on my
wrong
arm.
Part of the world, I think.
Yeah, but
it
maybe it's
similar.
Everywhere, right? Dun, dun, dun. I won't say it. It's conspiratorial. It would be funny if that's actually true. Anyway, so the rock art sites include the earliest evidence of humans in Western Amazonia dating back 12,500 years ago. As such, the art is an amazing insight into how the first settlers understood their place in the world and how they formed relationships with animals. And this seems to be a trend of artwork everywhere. Red ochre is always used in cave art, like all over the world.
Right. Why is that? Why didn't they use different materials?
Why is that? You know, and when I've had that conversation with people, anthropologists, archaeologists, scientists, they always say, well, people just stumble across it. Really? Somebody in Europe stumbled across it right next to the same time somebody in South Africa, South America, Central America, where the two never talk to each other. All right. Everybody stumbled across it at the same time. So in the study, researchers warn against trying to ascribe modern worldviews to the creators, especially those that downplay the sophisticated spirituality? The sophisticated spiritually?
I think it's spirituality.
Yeah.
No, I can't even say it.
I'm like locked up on this. I must have closure. Of indigenous groups. Instead, they would appreciate, we should appreciate the ancient artwork for what it can teach us about the societies that interpreted the relationship between humans and nature as reciprocal and interconnected. That is typically referred to as cultural and temporal relativism. Don't apply today's mechanics to 12,500 year ago art. It will do our understanding of society and humans in general a massive disservice. So it is what it is until we don't know, or until we truly do know. And the only way to do that is everybody open their borders so that we can all do fundamental research without any type of undue influence, political burden, or threats. to have a particular outcome, but unfortunately, that's not how it works. But I find it really fascinating. And again, if you are listening to this via the podcast, y'all really need to go and look at the video over in ohmTown on YouTube or Twitch. There's a VOD. It's only there for 60 days, and it's a moving target because we keep adding content. But over on YouTube, you can actually pull up the playlist of all of the Non Sequitur News episodes. There's over 1,000 of them now. The wall that is shown in this picture, it's just a rock wall. I don't know how tall it is because there's no reference. But there's...
Well, look at the trees next to it. I mean, that gives us some sense.
No, I can't. I have no idea. Is that tree 4 inches across, or is it 8 inches across? And this is just
right.
massive.
We don't know, but the tree at least gives it the perspective that it's like a cliff face or something. But we can't tell from the picture, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's in the article. It's in the study, so I'll end up looking at the study. But this is neat. I really love this stuff. Particularly when it's hidden, and then when we discover it and it's untampered with, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Well, and this is odd because it's one of those things that was harmed because of actually other problems.
Right. Yep. And you can tell that they were like mashing their hands all over this down at the very bottom. Or what I think might be the bottom. Who knows? I don't know how tall this is. Honestly, I really don't. Anyway, let's move on. We'll come back, I'm sure, because more information will come out about this. And we also have Technology Today, which does deeper dives. And this definitely has the potential to have technology involved in it. But I wanted to get to this before we end the show. And we're already past because I like to vamp at the beginning. Which probably isn't good for the show because people are like, oh my gosh, this dude just keeps on going on and on. So this last article is over in 4-Wheel Tech. Desert gas station wants $8.59 for a gallon of gas, but doesn't want to hear you bitching about it. So this summer, gas prices...
I'm going to go complain if I'm paying that much.
Yeah, we're going to find out where this is, but... Gas prices are lower than they've been in the past. You can thank falling demand for that. In some places, though, some gas stations have a I know what I have attitude, resulting in some serious prices. So somebody needs to spin up a gas station right across the street from it. One gas station is like this and doubles down on the pricing with a disclaimer. The station is the only one around for miles in the Mojave Desert. Lawrence Hodge is the author. I bet you if you were to spin up a gas station right across from that, this person would probably like...
I bet the price would go down to almost half.
Sure. Very reasonable. I'm sure they're reasonable about it. It's not price gouging at all. I'm sure that the price increase is commensurate with the added cost associated with getting gas deliveries. And it's much more expensive.
Well, it might if it's nowhere near a whatever distribution center.
Okay, so one desert station.
But why wasn't it $8.59, say, last year?
I'm not sure. It says there that their overhead is extremely high. Delivery costs has doubled with this location. So there you go. There is a vast of almost 100 miles of desert. What? I'm sorry, with no service. Please do not complain about the prices. You have a choice to be a customer or not. We are here for your convenience. No, you're here for their convenience.
I'm not sure that's
right?
Exactly why they're there.
Thank you for supporting a family-owned business. What an appeal. Anyway, and not just Desert Oasis, it's a Chevron station. And as seen in a tweet from Twitter, M. Bateman, the station has some of what's likely the highest, if not the highest, gas prices around. Regular is at $8.59, plus is at $8.65, and premium is $8.75, which doesn't seem like a high of a jump across the board.
No, it doesn't. And honestly, given the location, that's probably about right because fuel costs have gone up, right? So that's affecting the suppliers. And then also if it's too far removed from anywhere that it's coming from.
On one hand, they have a point, says the author. By the way, the author again is Lawrence Hodge over at jalopnik.com. I think I said that at the beginning, but just wanted to make sure. So on the other hand, saying you need us because of look at where you are, what other choices do you have, can be a turnoff for some, and it reflects in the gas station's reviews. 1.4 on Yelp, 2.3 on Google. That's from nearly 500 total reviews, and from some of the reviews, the station's prices aren't the only things wrong. Quote, with the price they're charging for gas and other items inside the shop, they can't be bothered to fix 2 out of the 3 bathroom stalls. Nothing inside has a price tag. Just pick up what you want and have a heart attack at the register. Said one review from earlier this month, says the author. Then they say, I'm not usually price sensitive. I know sometimes you have to charge a premium, but this seems so extreme, more like gouging desperate people than... Is today typo day?
Yes.
Because now we're charring fair prices. Anyway, I love that. But I need to warn everybody that the sentient AI from the future probably the first target once they have their Terminator body is violations of grammar.
Oh, absolutely. That's going to be up there on the list.
They went inside and paid $8 for water. Read another review. Seems like if you're ever in this
that's
part
like
of the Mojave,
stadium prices, right?
No, stadium prices is like $24,
Probably worse
$16.
than that, right?
Yeah.
That would probably be a bargain.
Man, sometimes what I want to do is offer people that have prosthetic legs some way to put a beer keg inside their leg so that they can actually bring beer in without the high cost. And if it's going to cost you an arm and a leg, you might as well do something with it. No? Was that wrong?
No, I don't think that's the way to go.
I should have filtered that out.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to risk this and see if my Stream Deck is going to work. You know what? Maybe I'll just do it. Here, I'll do it this way. Because I see that Stream Deck actually crashed. Production values in ohmTown. So while that is reloading, I am going to drive like a bat out of hell from this gas station back to the front page of ohmTown where everything is... Okay. My Stream Deck actually completely went black. Now I'm scared.
Not good.
I'm not going to refresh because, well, I'm being waved off.
It is not safe. We're in heavy amount of political news. So.
Oh, yeah. We don't even talk about politics in here. I mean, I might make snarky little remarks, but I don't even like having... I've been told that I'm supposed to blur out political messaging in a show about news where I have tertiary news on the pages so that I can promote the show. Oh, goodness. I swear. Anyway, that's it for today. At least for the non sequitur news portion of the show. We're going to call it a night, and we're going to see you tomorrow at somewhere between 6 and 8. I know that we are supposed to have it around 8, but we've been moving it closer to the 6 time frame. Why? Because we I don't know, it's more energetic. We have a lot more fun, I guess, when it's like 8 o'clock. We're chomping
when we're
at the
not
bit
yawning.
to go have a beer. And by the way, that might be a really fun show right around the bend here. Got 2 days before our first sample, and then maybe this weekend we'll we'll talk a little bit more in depth about a new show that might be coming. You want to stick around? Be sure to follow us over on Twitch and on YouTube. Follow us on the podcast. Join us in Patreon and over at the Discord. The Discords. I'm Mayor Watt. That's the Sentient AI's visualizer.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. Be back tomorrow for another episode, and don't forget to catch us on the replay.
Catch us on the rebound. Because we're hot. Hot, 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 like the Mojave.